Hey, what's up guys? So what we're going to do today is I'm going to show you guys how to make your own homemade liquid chalk. You can buy liquid chalk in smaller quantities online, or you can buy it from different stores if you have a store like that that'll sell it around you. The biggest thing about the homemade chalk is that you can actually make it in bigger quantities for, I wouldn't say half the price, but it's definitely cheaper. You still have to buy obviously the brick chalk, and then you have to grind it up. So what I'm going to show you guys today is how you can grind it up, make your own mixtures with the alcohol, and then use it and make sure you store it correctly and then use it at the gym. So let's get started. Alright guys, so here's what you're going to need. You're going to need something that you can put it in after you make it. So I got this guy right here. I didn't have the one without the plunger, so this is what I'm going to use right now. I'm probably going to have to move this to something that doesn't have the plunger. The goal is that whatever you're going to put it in, the finished product, needs to be in some kind of airtight container, because otherwise your liquid chalk that you make homemade wise is going to dry out, and then you're just going to be left with chalk and some kind of like residue. But I already have some obviously pre-made here. I had to try it out first before I did the video to make sure I knew what the heck I was talking about. But what you're going to need is something airtight to put in at the end. Now I'm using 50% isopropyl alcohol. You can use a higher percentage, just understand the higher the percentage, the faster it'll dry in your hands, but also the easier and faster it can dry in storage. So just keep that in mind. Obviously when it dries out, you could always add a little bit more alcohol to the mixture before you say you go back out. You shouldn't have to add too much though if it is airtight, because it hopefully will not dry out as easily. I obviously, as you can see here, used just a Pyrex basic measuring cup here. The beauty of this was I didn't measure anything or anything like that, but it has a spout. It's about the only thing I had that had a spout that I could actually mix in here and then pour it into the actual the container that I was going to store it in. What I have here is I have basically just a big block, a normal generic block of chalk that you use for either climbers use them or lifting, so it's lifting chalk. I have myself a disclaimer here, I got the Magic Bullet, but you can use any blender or anything like that. Honestly, you could even, if you really wanted to, put it in a Ziploc bag and grind it up. This, for me, way easier. But so what I'm going to do is I'm going to break off a nice chunk right here. So this guy will do just about that size. Depending on the container you're putting in, how much you want to make. I might make multiple different amounts here. As you can tell in here, I only have about like a quarter in there filled, so I'm gonna put this guy in here, throw my Magic Bullet top on, and grind it up. Like I said, you can grind it up any other way you want to. If you want to put it in a Ziploc bag and crush it up, that's perfectly fine too. I use this because it's just way easier. So it's loud for a second here, and that's about all you need. It's already pretty fine powder in there. Sometimes I'll let it run just a little bit longer just to make sure if there's any bigger clumps. Let that go. Give it a little shake, maybe one more time. Sweet. Alright. So then I just check it out. No big chunks in there. Good to go. So now what I'm going to do is open this guy up, and I'm just going to dump it right into whatever you're going to be mixing it in. So I just mix it right into my glassware here, and then I'm going to take my alcohol, and what you're going to do is you want it to be about a consistency of yogurt, maybe a little bit more liquidy. Obviously the more liquid you have it, so I wanted to make it a little more liquidy because I do have the plunger here, and I didn't want too many clumps in there that would clog up the plunger. But if you use a little less alcohol, you're going to see that it'll clump up a little bit more, but it'll also dry in your hands faster, as well as if you get the higher percentage. So I just using the 50%. You can get this at pretty much any drugstore. So pour a little bit in there, take my knife, mix this sucker up. See if I can get that. My lighting is not so great. I gotta fix that. But you can tell it's going to get a little cakey, but it's starting to get there. So I don't know if you can see the consistency, but it's pretty thick right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit more, and you obviously the more you add, the more liquidy it's going to get, duh. But you don't want to get it too liquidy for the reasons I mentioned earlier. So this is like a paste right now. I want it to be a little bit more free flowing because I do have to try to transport it into the tub here. So I'm going to put just a little bit more. So always try to add a little bit at a time. That actually might have been too much. Let's check it out. Let's see. Try to get all the dry powder on the side. And obviously if you make a little too liquidy, you can always crush up more powder, chalk, and throw it in there. So actually that doesn't look too bad. It did solidify up a little bit, so it's a little bit liquidy. Make sure it doesn't have any, it will clump up a little bit if you don't try to knock those out. Alright, so now, simple enough, right? Obviously, just 2 freaking steps to the whole damn thing. Let's take this guy out, plunger, and then you just pour it in. Okay, so filled it up pretty good. So what I'm going to do, put this guy back on there. Obviously you can see some of it's drying on my hand already. Give it a shake. You want to shake it up every once in a while to make sure it stays liquidy and it mixes really well. And then look at that, a little spout. Rub it all over. And at first it doesn't look like much, right? Right? Just a little bit on there, not too bad. And then you give them some magic waves. Get the alcohol to dry. And as it dries, the alcohol will evaporate and it'll leave chalk on your hands. And boom. So obviously you still have a little bit more drying to be done, but as it dries, you got chalk on your hands and it stays on there pretty well. And so because when it evaporates, it'll actually bind a little bit better than regular chalk to your hands. And so that'll stay on there for most of the workout. I'll leave a little bit of residue obviously on the bars, but there you go. Pretty simple, easy to do. Doesn't take a rocket scientist, because if I can do it, anyone can do it. Alright guys, subscribe and let me know what you think. And I gotta clean my hands.